Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Well, Deontay Wilder's manager, Jay Diaz, JD's or Diaz, I think it's Diaz. Yeah, it's pronounced Diaz. Jay Diaz has come out and he's expressed some concerns about STIVERNE for missing his scheduled VADA, his scheduled drug test through VADA with the clean boxing program, which the WBC oversees. Okay. Now, according to the clean boxing program, the clean boxing program's protocol, if you miss one drug test, that counts as a failed drug test. Okay. Now, given that STIVERNE had failed the drug test back in late last year, and if you also attribute to this the fact that he missed one on like last week or so, I believe. So that's a possibility that his title shot against Deontay Wilder could be in serious jeopardy. Okay, now what else? This is where Diaz had to further say about this situation. He said here, quote, "Look, I don't know the details, but it's definitely something to be concerned about." So now Deontay has tested clean dating back to the Olympics. Okay, now we want to have a level playing field. We want everyone to, get into the ring to be clean as well. Now that should be given, but unfortunately that's not always the case, which is true. Now, when asked about the Ortiz situation, of course, he said, "Look, if we were to fight Ortiz, we would certainly insist that he's tested like we were tested." Okay, in response to the fact he was tested. Now, another potential opponent has been floating around. If somehow, some way, the Ortiz fight or maybe the STIVERNE fight doesn't come off, is Dominic Breazeale. Now, we all know that Dom Breazeale and Deontay Wilder had an altercation earlier this year on that main event card, on that fight card where Deontay Wilder was fighting Gerald Washington. And Dominic Breazeale was on the undercard, and he fought Israel Gano, up and coming heavyweight. An explosive fight, knocked him out in 5 rounds. As I was saying, so anyhow, when asked about the Dominic Breazeale situation, Jay Diaz has said, "Look, quote, I haven't heard much of his name. I haven't heard his name much. I haven't heard is that he's in the mix for this fight. Now, if the fight was to come about, we would expect negotiations to begin once the lawsuit is dropped. So we're not gonna fight a guy who and then give him a shot at the heavyweight championship that's suing us, which does make sense." That's not how the world works. Now, again, Jay Diaz has a point there, and I think I forgot to mention that Breazeale is filing a civil suit against Wilder for the altercation that took place at a hotel on the night of that main event card in Toulouse, Alabama. So, Birmingham, Alabama. With Deontay Wilder's backyard. But anyway, let me go ahead and review this point by point. Now, as I maintain my stance on this whole situation that Deontay Wilder should not be getting the full blame for why this whole STIVERNE situation has come about. It's plenty of blame to go around. Should he have taken care of this earlier? You could argue that, but we could also argue the fact that he's been trying to take care of this STIVERNE situation before the Luis Ortiz name and bout came about. And the reason being is because STIVERNE fight he can't get a TV deal with the STIVERNE situation. So that's probably the core reason why he's having trouble to make this fight. Now, as far as the fact that they keep on, while this team keep mentioning the fact the reason why big fights can't come off about because these fighters are not tested clean, so there's no reason to fighting them. They do have a point to some degree, but you have to look at the heavyweight division. And shout out to Boxing Big Sarans, he made a good point about this. You gotta look at the heavyweight rankings. You have, you have Alexander Povetkin, you have the Luis Ortiz, you have the Erkin Teppers, you have the Lucas Browns, you have who else is there? Marius Walk and STIVERNE, obviously. And then you have Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Although his situation, he failed a drug test while he was a kickboxer a couple of years back. Dillian White. All these are top heavyweight contenders if you think about it. They were all top heavyweight contenders. They are top heavyweight contenders. They've all got reprimanded. They've all paid hefty fines. They all have served out their, their sanctions and whatnot. So they're back into the mix, and they've been testing clean ever since. So at some point, sometime, Deontay is going to have to deal with those guys. Okay, he's going to have to deal with them. So if you're not going to willing to engage with those top heavyweights, then maybe this is not the profession for you. Okay, because there's no way you could go down in weight and fight a cruiserweight, because you're a very big, you're a pretty big heavyweight, and number two, you just can't hold that WBC title. You can't continue to defend that WBC title against obscure opposition. I'm just being honest, man. That's the honest truth. So again, I have to agree with Boxing Beats and Rhymes on that point. Now, another point that I want to review is the fact that Deontay Wilder and his team have always cited that they wouldn't fight Luis Ortiz because he's a no drug cheat. Okay. Now, it's funny they say that because, one, now they're willing to make the fight. Two, Wilder has said this in the past where Alisson Povetkin has failed the drug test. Although I felt Povetkin, though he did serve out his ban, I felt that ban should have been more lengthier than what he got in 6 months for failing 2 different drug tests within 6 months last year. So anyhow, Wilder even himself said that, look, eventually we will fight, revert to Alexander Povetkin, and yeah, I even made a video about that too. So if you're gonna cite those two guys as drug teams, then you come out and say that you're willing to fight them, then that doesn't really make any much sense. So, but my point is this: as Boxing Beats and Rhymes says, that look, you're gonna have to engage these guys one way or the other because they've all failed drug tests. Yes, they've all were fined hefty. They've all served out their suspensions or, bans or sanctions, whatever you want to call it, and they're back into the mix. They've been testing clean ever since. So you're going to have to engage with them. So I believe that this is part of the reason why Wilder's team is going to will be fully engaged into the Luis Ortiz bout, because they understand now that you're pretty much running out of legitimate concerns about fighting certain opponents because of the drug testing situation. That type of argument is going to really fade away. Look, again, don't misconstrue my words here. I'm not advocating for fighters to come into fights dirty. My point is that once they get caught dirty, yes, you recommend them, you suspend them, you ban them, whatever you have to do. But once they get back into the mix and they have tested clean for a lengthy period of time, then yeah, they're clean. There's nothing else you can say about that. There's nothing else to argue there. So, anyhow, if the Dominic Breazeale fight, and this is oh man, I really hope that this fight does not come off. But if it does come off, then what Wilder and Ortiz should do is, like, what, they should draft an agreement between both parties, both camps, and in that agreement, it should stipulate that once we both get past our interim fights, then we'll meet to fight each other early next year in 2018. So I think that would be a very illogical thing to do if it has to come down to the point that Dominic Breazeale has to fight, that Deontay Wilder has to fight Dominic Breazeale, and Luis Ortiz will take an interim fight at the same time as well. And that interim fight with Ortiz, whoever he will face, will be on the undercard of Wilder and Breazeale if it comes down to it. But I really don't want to see that fight at this point. No, I mean, it would be a decent fight, but not at this point. No. So yeah, and again, and Luis Ortiz recently came out and said that, look, I'll fight you, Deontay, but you got to clean up this mess, which is true. You got to clean this up, man. And I also have to allude to the point that, you taking all these voluntary defenses is one of the reasons why you kind of got yourself in this mess in the first place. And again, it's time for you to clean it up, and it's time to move on to bigger, better things like Luis Ortiz. Let me know what your thoughts about this. I'm out.